Hey class. So I'm sure all of us can think of a type of food that we would never look at in the grocery store unless it was with a certain type of recipe or a certain type of food. That's how I feel about cabbage rolls. I would walk by cabbage and instantly cringe just because it's cabbage. But at home, when my father is making these glorious cabbage rolls, the smell, the taste of the cabbage, it just makes me melt basically, which is weird because I don't think I would ever eat cabbage other than with these cabbage rolls. These cabbage rolls, the recipe that my father has for them comes down from my great grandmother, who has everything handwritten in a little book that she gave to my grandmother, and my grandmother gave it down to all of my aunts and uncles, and then my dad gave it to me. My father is the only one besides my grandmother that I know knows how to make these cabbage rolls. So every time I go home for the holidays, I always ask my father to make them for me because my mom doesn't know how to make them, and I don't think anyone else in my family knows how to make them. So they're really good, and they're kind of special just because they're limited people. I haven't tried to make them yet. I will try eventually. Just I need to have patience, and I have to watch my father a little bit more because I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I said, this recipe comes from the Hungarian side. It's originally called stuffed cabbage, but my father has always called them cabbage rolls. I know for the recipe, you obviously need cabbage. I don't know how much. It depends on how much you're making it for. My dad usually makes about 100, so he usually uses a lot. We also use pork and beef. We use onions. He uses rice, which was called for by my grandmother, but for some reason I didn't know that it was part of the recipe. I know you boil the cabbage, and once it's done boiling, you fork it off and then you cut it in half. Then after that, that's when you make the stuffing. You use the pork, the beef, the onions, paprika, most other seasonings that you would use, and the rice. So it's kind of like making meatballs, except without the rice. Um, and then what you do is you just take the stuffing, put it in half of the cabbage, roll it, and then you put tomato sauce on the bottom of a pan, and then you just form them all along the pan, kind of like if you were going to make enchiladas, if anyone likes Mexican food. You pour tomato sauce on the top just to keep them juicy, and then they cook for about an hour, hour and a half, depending on how much you make. So they're really, really good. I love them. I need to learn how to make them because my family lives in Ohio and I live in Georgia, and it's just that one food that I just love and I can't not have enough of. Like I said, my dad is the only one that I know besides my grandmother that knows how to make them. So once I get the recipe, obviously I'm going to pass it down to my children because I love them so much. They're so good. So if you haven't tried cabbage rolls before, I would definitely suggest you to try them because they're so good, depending on where you get them from, I guess. This has been a family recipe for a while, but I would definitely try cabbage rolls, even if you don't like cabbage, because I never liked cabbage. I never even thought I would eat cabbage before, other than these cabbage rolls. So definitely try them.